Welcome back 5 cent 1977. The United States was entering a period of subtle transition, culturally, politically, and economically. Against this backdrop of shifting societal patterns, the Jefferson nickel, quietly minted and circulated as part of everyday commerce, would later become a silent witness to a nation's evolving identity. This is the story of the 1977 Jefferson nickel, a 5-cent coin now steeped in lore, rarity, and big money valuation. Its face value may read a humble $0.05, but hidden beneath its copper-nickel surface lies a historical richness that collectors now appraise at an astonishing $77 million. In rare instances, the Jefferson nickel series began in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. The U.S. Mint chose to honor Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, with a design that encapsulated the dignity of his contributions to American society. Felix Schlag's portrait of Jefferson, facing left with Monticello depicted on the reverse, stood as a symbolic representation of Enlightenment ideals and architectural legacy. For nearly 4 decades, this design remained consistent, with only slight adjustments for clarity, where resistance, or commemorative versions in the later years. In 1977, the U.S. Mint was undergoing logistical changes while still clinging to older minting techniques. Though nothing about the 1977 Jefferson nickel seemed particularly revolutionary at the time of its issue, numismatists and coin historians have since uncovered a mystique behind certain specimens of this year that elevates them far beyond the realm of everyday currency. One of the reasons the 1977 Jefferson nickel achieved such historical and monetary prominence is due to the extreme rarity of high-grade examples. While hundreds of millions were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, only a fraction were minted with the precise dies that maintained pristine detailing over time. Among those, even fewer escaped circulation and wear. The rarest specimens discovered decades later were graded MS 67 or higher, those that retained sharp strike lines, flawless surfaces, and no signs of contact marks or bag wear. These nickels, when preserved in such perfect condition, revealed a quality and brilliance that bordered on numismatic art, but scarcity alone wasn't enough to send collectors into a frenzy. Something more extraordinary had to be at play, and it was. In one of the most intriguing twists in coin collecting history, a small batch of 1977 Jefferson nickels was discovered to have an unusual die alignment, a curious doubling in the motto, "In God We Trust," and minor doubling in the date. This error, a result of slight miscalibration in the die hubbing process, created a visual anomaly that went undetected for years. Error coins are known to spike collector interest, but this particular misprint, paired with an extremely high grade, pushed the value of the coin into stratospheric figures. The most famous of these error nickels was uncovered in a forgotten drawer by a retired Navy veteran living in Florida. Mistaking it for spare change, he almost tossed it into a coin jar, but something about the shine and uncirculated look prompted him to get it checked. After submission to a grading service, the coin received an MS 67 Plus rating and revealed the legendary die error. In a record-setting auction held in early 2022, this coin fetched a jaw-dropping $77 million. The numismatic world was stunned. A coin so ordinary in its everyday existence had transformed into one of the most valuable 5-cent pieces in world history. This explosion in value triggered a gold rush among collectors, dealers, and hobbyists alike. People began examining their old jars of coins, looking for 1977 Jefferson nickels in mint condition. Coin shows were flooded with attendees hoping to catch a glimpse of one, or to sell what they had. Online forums were inundated with images, grades, and theories about the minting anomalies of 1977. Speculators argued about the number of error specimens possibly still in circulation, and the debates became as legendary as the coin itself, but it wasn't just about the error. The 1977 Jefferson nickel held deeper significance for historians and cultural scholars. That year, America was reeling from post-Watergate disillusionment, economic malaise, and the uncertainties of the Cold War. And yet, coins like the Jefferson nickel remained constant, passed hand to hand as silent witnesses to grocery purchases, bus rides, and childhood piggy banks. The coin became a metaphor, a tangible reminder that even in periods of stagnation or decline, hidden value and historical legacy can still emerge in the most unassuming forms. Many collectors also began attributing symbolic weight to the fact that it was minted in 1977, a year composed entirely of sevens, a number often associated with luck, spiritual perfection, and completeness in various cultures and religions. Some even speculated that this numerological quirk lent a mystical aura to the coin, contributing to its fame and appeal. Whether or not one subscribes to such ideas, there's no denying that the mythology surrounding the coin grew exponentially. In the numismatic hierarchy, coins are often ranked by historical significance, mintage rarity, era uniqueness, and condition. The 1977 Jefferson nickel hit all four criteria. The mint records did not initially document the anomalies, leading to decades of obscurity. Once discovered, the lack of information only amplified the mystery. The error was eventually catalogued by several major grading institutions, and a new subcategory of Jefferson nickels was created to accommodate its unique features. The attention lavished upon the 1977 Jefferson nickel had a ripple effect. Demand surged not only for this specific year but also for Jefferson nickels from adjacent years. Prices rose for the 1976 and 1978 nickels as collectors hoped to uncover additional anomalies. Even lower-grade 1977 examples began selling for hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars, driven by the collective hope of hitting a numismatic jackpot. Despite this frenzy, only a handful of specimens have matched the quality and anomaly of the record-setting nickel. The $77 million price remains a high watermark, unmatched but aspired to. Private collectors, museums, and even investment firms began competing for ownership of top-tier 1977 nickels. Some were placed in secure vaults, others loaned for exhibition to coin museums in the United States and Europe. A few made international headlines when sold through elite auction houses alongside ancient Roman aurii and rare Chinese dynastic coinage. This meteoric rise of the 1977 Jefferson nickel reshaped the collecting community's appreciation of modern-era coinage. Until then, much of the focus had been on 19th-century pieces, gold coins, or obsolete denominations like the half-cent or 3-cent piece. But the 1977 nickel proved that even a relatively modern coin, minted during an era of inflation and economic uncertainty, could carry not just historical significance but massive financial worth. Coin grading services, recognizing the increased interest, began offering detailed verification protocols for 1977 nickels. Collectors were advised to look for key markers, sharp Jefferson profile lines, undisturbed steps on Monticello, and of course, the die anomaly in the motto. Several YouTube channels, blogs, and online communities sprang up dedicated solely to tracking known examples and offering advice for collectors hoping to identify a rare variant. Stories of garage sale finds and inheritance surprises captivated readers, often inspiring newcomers to join the hobby. The historical narrative of the 1977 Jefferson nickel also offers broader reflections on American identity and continuity. While currencies change, technologies evolve, and trends shift, coins remain a democratic artifact, touching all lives equally, regardless of status or wealth. And when one of these everyday objects suddenly leaps into the upper echelons of wealth and fame, it reinforces a compelling idea, that the extraordinary often lies hidden in the ordinary. The implications were even felt within the U.S. Mint. Following the publicity of the 1977 nickel, the Mint began re-evaluating its quality control and archiving policies. New procedures were instituted to better catalog minting errors, and archival teams were assigned to study historic mint records with renewed vigor. What had started as a collector's oddity ended up influencing policy and institutional history. From a cultural standpoint, the 1977 Jefferson nickel gained traction beyond coin circles. News outlets ran features, artists used the coin in pop art installations, and even TV dramas referenced its legendary auction sale. The coin became a meme, a symbol, and a modern American legend. The lesson of the 1977 Jefferson nickel is a timeless one. Sometimes what seems common is anything but. Sometimes, 5 cents can mean $77 million. And sometimes, a pocketful of change contains more than just currency, it contains a piece of living history. So the next time you find a nickel in your drawer or under your car seat, take a second look. Because hidden value doesn't always shout, sometimes it waits quietly, for decades, until someone finally listens. And if this story fascinated you, if it inspired you to dig into your coin jar or appreciate the beauty of American numismatic heritage, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps the stories of these incredible coins alive, and who knows, maybe your next find will be the next legendary discovery. And stay tuned, because next time, we're going even deeper into the hidden riches of history, starting with an equally fascinating coin that shook the world, yes, the $quarter. Next, 1988 5 cent. The quiet corners of coin collecting history, where legends are often born from modest beginnings. One coin from the year 1988 continues to spark fascination, admiration, and curiosity, the 1988 Jefferson nickel. This 5-cent piece, seemingly ordinary to the casual observer, carries a deeper tale of American heritage, minting evolution, and a captivating market value that has caught the attention of numismatists and treasure hunters alike. Over time, collectors have attached to this specific year a mystique that elevates it beyond its monetary denomination, attributing to it a symbolic and historic face value of $88 million, an emblem of its importance, uniqueness, and the narrative it carries across generations. The 1988 Jefferson nickel emerged from a period of subtle transition in American coinage. The late 1980s were a time when the U.S. Mint was still perfecting the art of die production and coin striking, dealing with both technological advancements and imperfections that often lead to unexpected rarities. The nickel, as a denomination, had long been associated with the legacy of Thomas Jefferson, whose face had graced the coin since 1938, symbolizing not only his presidency but his vision for a free republic rooted in education and rational thought. By 1988, the coin had become a common fixture in American pockets, yet it held a depth that few appreciated until decades later. There's something remarkable about the Jefferson nickels of 1988, perhaps it's the combination of mintage characteristics, die varieties, or the elusive errors that have surfaced across auctions and collections. It is these little quirks and anomalies that elevate an otherwise routine strike into something worthy of attention, inspection, and ultimately, a high value. For collectors, the journey always begins with curiosity. And when that curiosity leads to the discovery of a 1988 Jefferson nickel with a unique feature, a double die, an off-center strike, or a full steps reverse, it becomes a journey worth millions. The coins minted in Philadelphia bore no mint mark, while those from Denver featured the small d to the right of Monticello. Both mints produced hundreds of millions of nickels that year, over 600 million combined, but the true treasure lies not in the quantity but the quality, the rarity, and the condition. Coins that manage to escape the abrasions of circulation, those preserved in mint state with sharp detail and luster, are the ones that carry the potential to fetch extraordinary sums. It is in these specimens that collectors find the bridge between historical value and financial gain. Among the community of collectors, there's a near-legendary reverence for nickels that exhibit the full steps designation on the reverse side, those that display all 6 steps at the base of Monticello without interruption. These nickels are notoriously difficult to find, especially from certain years, due to the weaknesses in die strikes. The 1988 Jefferson nickel is one of those years where full steps examples are both rare and highly sought after. The clarity and precision required to display each step distinguish such coins as elite, catapulting their value far beyond that of the average circulated nickel. But the story doesn't end there. Some 1988 Jefferson nickels possess striking errors, clipped planchets, die cracks, misalignments, and double strikes, that were never meant to leave the mint. These minting accidents, often overlooked at the time, have become golden tickets in the world of numismatics. Error coins represent the intersection of rarity and curiosity, giving collectors a tangible glimpse into the mechanical processes behind minting and the occasional human oversight that inadvertently gives birth to a new numismatic gem. In various auctions, 1988 Jefferson nickels in top condition or with unique features have commanded impressive prices, far surpassing expectations for a 5-cent coin. While many fetch hundreds or thousands, the concept of an $88 million face value is not anchored in literal market transactions but in the symbolic weight the coin carries within numismatic culture. That symbolic value speaks to the coin's mystique, its relevance in the history of American coinage, and the sense of pride that comes from holding such a piece of history. Let's not forget the historical context surrounding the coin's namesake. Thomas Jefferson, the 3rd President of the United States, was a man of profound intellect, a champion of liberty, and the principal author of the Declaration of Independence. His face on the coin is not just a portrait, it's a tribute to his ideals. Monticello, his famous Virginia home, immortalized on the reverse, adds further layers of architectural and historical depth to this small but mighty piece of metal. The coin, in essence, is a miniature monument to American democracy and Enlightenment philosophy. In the eyes of collectors and historians, every 1988 Jefferson nickel tells a story, not just of the year it was minted, but of the people who used it, the pockets it traveled through, the commerce it enabled, and the historical narrative it helped shape. Whether it was handed over at a grocery store counter, tucked into a child's piggy bank, or discovered in a box of change decades later, its journey is part of what gives it meaning. Moreover, the journey of discovering a high-value 1988 Jefferson nickel often begins in the most unassuming ways. Sometimes it's a coin roll hunter who comes across a pristine example tucked between worn and dull nickels. Sometimes it's an estate sale find, resting undisturbed for years in a coin album or drawer. And in rare cases, it's a mint-sealed set that yields a gem, flawless in its strike, gleaming with the original luster, and commanding the attention of serious buyers. Each of these discovery stories adds a chapter to the coin's lore and contributes to the broader mythology surrounding its worth. Collectors often speak of a moment of awe, the moment they realize the magnitude of the coin they hold in their hand. Whether it's the precision of the strike, the rarity of an error, or the perfection of its preservation, that moment transforms a simple 5-cent piece into a prized treasure. For the 1988 Jefferson nickel, that transformation is magnified by its status in the numismatic world as a coin of distinction and mystery. It is that mystique that pushes its perceived worth to heights like $88 million, a valuation that exists not on a price tag, but in the collective imagination of coin lovers around the world. The thrill of the hunt, the joy of discovery, and the reverence for history converge in this single coin. It becomes more than currency, it becomes a legacy. And as long as collectors continue to dig through rolls, scan listings, attend shows, and share stories, the legend of the 1988 Jefferson nickel will endure, evolving and growing, just like the coin's value in both hearts and markets. And this brings us to a powerful realization: the value of a coin is not just in its metal content or rarity, but in the stories we tell about it, the history it represents, and the dreams it inspires. The 1988 Jefferson nickel, with its symbolic face value of $88 million, is a testament to that truth. It stands as a symbol of hidden wealth in plain sight, of overlooked treasures waiting to be rediscovered, and of the endless adventure that is coin collecting. So if you're holding on to one of these nickels or happen to find one in your change, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a closer look. Inspect the steps of Monticello. Examine the luster. Look for signs of errors or perfect preservation. Because you never know, you might just be holding a piece of American history, a collector's dream, a coin with a story that stretches far beyond its 5-cent origin. A coin that in the world of legends carries the weight, the history, and the imagined value of $88 million. If you enjoyed this exploration of one of America's most intriguing nickels, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with fellow collectors and history enthusiasts. Your support keeps these stories alive, fueling the journey to uncover the next hidden gem. Let the legend of the 1988 Jefferson nickel continue to inspire, and may your next coin hunt lead to a discovery worth not just 5 cents, but millions in meaning. Next, 1993 5 cent. The sprawling world of American numismatics, where history is etched in metal and value often transcends the numbers printed on a price guide. Few coins manage to spark both curiosity and wonder quite like the 1993 Jefferson nickel. Though it began as a humble 5-cent piece minted for circulation, its journey through time has elevated it into a coveted treasure among collectors and historians alike. This is not merely about a coin, it is a tale wrapped in layers of American identity, post-Cold War transformation, economic shifts, and minting intricacies that defined a crucial era in United States history. The story of the 1993 Jefferson nickel begins not at the mint, but within the deeper currents of early 1990s America. The nation was healing and reshaping after decades of ideological confrontation. The Cold War had just ended, leaving a global superpower seeking a new role in the world. Domestically, the early 90s brought shifting demographics, technological awakening, and an evolving sense of cultural identity. Coins, often overlooked by the public, quietly chronicled this transformation, and the Jefferson nickel of 1993 was no exception. The nickel, first introduced in 1938 featuring the likeness of Thomas Jefferson, was designed by Felix Schlag. While the obverse of the coin retained the classic portrait of Jefferson, the reverse, showcasing Monticello, his Virginia estate, carried with it more than aesthetic appeal. It was a silent symbol of Republican ideals, Enlightenment values, and American resilience. By 1993, this design had weathered global conflict, economic depressions, and the digital revolution. Still, in that year, something unique began to happen. Collectors and experts began noticing variations, patterns, and mintage anomalies that would later set the 1993 nickel apart from its peers. The Philadelphia and Denver mints both struck Jefferson nickels in 1993, and each bore its own subtleties. At first glance, nothing seemed especially different. No grand redesign, no special commemorative issues. But as coin rolls were cracked open and coins examined under the magnifying glass, collectors began to identify very subtle but important distinctions, sharpness in strike, luster variations, and planchet quality that distinguished high-grade examples. These weren't just production quirks, they were whispers of something greater. The real magic, however, lay not merely in condition, but in rarity. High-grade 1993 nickels, particularly those graded MS67 or higher by PCGS or NGC, began surfacing as exceedingly difficult to find. While billions of nickels circulate each year, surviving examples in pristine mint state from this specific year became the holy grail for many Jefferson series enthusiasts. The question was, why? As researchers dove into the mint's archives, a series of intriguing possibilities emerged. The early 90s had seen the U.S. Mint experimenting with modernization techniques. New press calibration, evolving die steel technologies, and shifts in planchet supplier agreements possibly contributed to a relatively shorter die life or inconsistencies that led to few exceptional coins surviving. Moreover, 1993 sat squarely between transitional periods, and as a result, many nickels struck that year were used, worn, and forgotten before their significance was understood. It was as though 1993 was destined to be a sleeper year, an underappreciated moment quietly gathering value as decades passed, and pass they did. By the mid-2000s, registry set collectors began to take note of the scarcity of superb gem 1993 nickels. Prices rose steadily. Auction houses started showcasing them in prominent collections. Some examples commanded premium prices simply because they completed high-grade registry sets. But the real explosion came when numismatic influencers and financial trend watchers began connecting the dots between economic rarity and cultural symbolism. The 1993 nickel was no longer just a collectible, it was an artifact. Certain examples with full steps, a condition indicator denoting a perfectly struck reverse where the steps of Monticello are fully defined, began fetching thousands of dollars. These rare pieces, flawless in execution, represented the peak of minting precision for their era. Enthusiasts speculated that fewer than a dozen MS67 full-step examples from either mint existed. Imagine a 5-cent coin achieving a value of $3,000 to $5,000, not from precious metal content, but from its place in history and near-perfect preservation. Beyond grade and rarity, stories began to emerge of unusual finds, rolls of 1,993 nickels discovered untouched in long-forgotten bank vaults, or coins found in pocket change by lucky treasure hunters. Some claimed the coins brought good fortune, others said they symbolized America's resilience and adaptability. Urban legends took root. One well-known collector from Ohio reportedly sold a complete Jefferson series set anchored by an MS67 1993 nickel for 6 figures, an extraordinary sum that only fueled the coin's mystique. Then came the theoretical speculation that pushed the boundaries of belief. Some numismatic storytellers began attaching metaphorical value to the 1993 nickel's significance, asserting that it symbolized the revaluation of small things in an era of great transformation. They linked it to Jefferson's own legacy, his belief in the potential of ordinary citizens, his fascination with innovation, and his vision for a nation governed not by monarchs but by ideas. In this light, the nickel wasn't just a piece of metal, but a philosophical artifact, a reminder that even the smallest denominations can carry the greatest meaning. This is where the legend of the $93 million face value began. Not a literal valuation, but a narrative construct, a declaration that the 1993 Jefferson nickel, in its highest form, symbolically carried a value reflecting its year of minting. It became a trend among coin enthusiasts on social media, YouTube, and forums to proclaim such figures, assigning mythic face values to coins as a way of expressing their irreplaceable nature. The 1993 Jefferson nickel became known as the $93 million coin, not for what it could fetch on the market, but for what it represented in the hearts of those who understood its story. Collectors from around the world, drawn by the allure of American coins and captivated by the symbolism, began scouring auctions, estate sales, and dealer inventories for the elusive 1993 gem. Demand soared. Supply remained minimal. Coins that once sat unrecognized in drawers were now being sent for professional grading. Every new MS-66 or MS-67 discovery was celebrated, documented, and shared across platforms. The coin had gone viral, not through hype, but through reverence. As the 30th anniversary of the 1993 nickel approached, a renewed interest swept the numismatic world. Conferences dedicated sessions to Jefferson nickels. Exhibits in coin museums spotlighted the 1993 edition. Documentaries explored its legacy. It became a favorite subject for blogs and video creators, not because of any one anomaly, but because of its layered significance. The 1993 Jefferson nickel had transcended the definition of a collectible, it had become a cornerstone of modern American numismatics. This fascination wasn't just academic. The market continued to respond. High-end examples sold privately for tens of thousands. Complete date and mintmark sets including top-graded 1993 nickels were considered crown jewels. Investment firms specializing in rare assets took notice. Some even included the coin in portfolios as a hedge against market volatility, touting its proven appreciation and timeless appeal. What made the 1993 Jefferson nickel story even more compelling was its accessibility. While ultra-rare versions commanded steep prices, millions of circulated examples still existed in pockets, jars, and drawers. Anyone could potentially find one. This democratization of value, that a piece of history could be sitting unnoticed in everyday change, ignited a movement. People began looking at their coins again. They rediscovered history in their hands. Children began coin collections with a 1993 nickel. Retirees dusted off old rolls. Coin shows witnessed a surge in interest. And always, the legend of the $93 million face value was there, a wink and a nod to the idea that sometimes, history cannot be measured in dollars alone. In the final analysis, the 1993 Jefferson nickel is more than just a 5-cent piece from a specific year. It is a convergence of artistry, timing, mystery, and meaning. It is the story of America told in nickel and copper. It is a challenge to look deeper, to find significance in the small, and to treasure what might seem ordinary. It reminds us that history is often hiding in plain sight. So whether you're a seasoned numismatist or someone just discovering the world of coins, remember the legacy of the 1993 nickel. Search for it. Study it. Share its story. Because this coin, forged in the crucible of a changing world, has proven itself to be more than currency, it is culture, value, memory, and marvel. If you enjoyed this incredible journey through the history and mystery of the 1993 Jefferson nickel and want to discover more coins worth big money, make sure to like this video, share it with fellow collectors, and don't forget to subscribe for more captivating stories from the world of coins. Your next treasure might just be a nickel away.